Hi, and as ever, a great big warm welcome to the Ask Zofie podcast. This is season 2, episode 20, and you wouldn't know this if I didn't tell you, but this is my third take. And again, that was my chair creaking, by the way. If you could hear that, nothing to do with me and my bodily functions. Why don't I just start as I mean to go on? So today, as ever, I'm really excited to be here. I always think, I used to think this when I was doing lots of private client work, if I'd see someone weekly, the week would seem to go really fast. Whereas if I'd see them fortnightly, those 2 weeks seemed way longer than twice the amount of 1 week. And because I record these podcasts every other week, it feels like so much happens in between those 2 weeks. And like when I sit down to record, like, oh my gosh, I haven't done this for an age. And last week was half term for me. I know it's not the same for everyone in the UK, and I've got no idea about globally, but my kids were off and they went to New York with their dads. They came back and they were both really tired and not very well. And I've got lots of house move stuff going on. So I was full on in that, like dealing with my kids and house mode. So haven't really had much chance to focus on work, and I love what I do. So it is an absolute joy and an honor to be here in your face if you're watching on YouTube, although hopefully not as aggressive as that term would imply, or in your ear or ears, which sounds weird, if you are listening to the audio version of this. Anyway, without further ado, today I'm talking about one of my kind of favorite things that ever came to me was this sort of quote, I suppose, which is, you can turn hindsight into foresight. And the way you do this is with faith. And I wanted to talk today about not so much what's happening at the moment in my life, but kind of using that as an opportunity to talk about this idea, this really awesome idea of how you can turn that hindsight into foresight, how you can have, you know, that when something crap happens and afterwards you go, oh, I see why that was meant to be, but you don't necessarily have that full awareness or that awareness at all in the midst of the metaphorical storm. So I'm speaking to this beautiful idea, but using my current situation as an example of this for you, as I so often do in my life. But 2 things before I get to that, actually a few things. Number one, I want to say, if you are someone who has joined my Reframe program, if you joined in the pre-sale, I just want to say, I would have already said this to you, but a massive thank you. I appreciate you so much. I can't even begin to explain. I can't wait to get the rest of the content to you. And I'm so just appreciative that you kind of trust me in this way to help you in this way. I'm not going to name all of your names because obviously I don't have permission, but I can say a few of my lovely friends listen to this podcast. They're in my membership. They've bought other products and done other work with me. And so shout out to my lovely friend Sasha, who is in Reframe. I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying, well, if she does, it's too late. Sorry, Sasha. You know, when people do that, it's like, well, do you mind when they've already done it? It's like, well, it's too late now. And also my buddy Siobhan, who I'm sure won't mind me saying also, but again, if you do, Siobhan, sorry, it's too late. But there are lots of other others of you, I don't know how to say that, who've obviously also joined Reframe that I'm not going to name. But if you're like, yeah, give me a shout out, Zofie, I'm happy for you too, then please let me know. But thank you, thank you, thank you. And probably be the end of March when I actually launch it for proper, but I'll share more on that in due course. Okay, so behind the scenes, am I going to do love notes? Actually, I'm going to do love notes first, and then I'll get to my behind the scenes. So I haven't picked us a page in advance, so bear with me. And my goodness, if I have those brain fart moments and forgetting my words moments today, which I think could be my vibe, please bear with me, because A, it is that time of life for me, and B, I am pretty tired at the moment in a good way, but still my brain's like, yeah, you know, when you just forget the most basic words and you're like, what is that thing? I remember when my daughter was a baby and I was really, really tired and I literally couldn't remember the word for tomato. Like, that's how frazzled my brain was. Anyway, let's see what comes up. I've got lots of pages turned over here. This is the version I don't use very often. It's the paperback, the original paperback. Anyway, you don't need to know that. So let me just get on with it. Okay, this is page 59. You cannot see me out there, for I reside elsewhere. My home is in you. My home is you. You cannot see me out there, for I reside elsewhere. My home is in you. My home is you. All right, I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm just going to leave that there for you. Oops, sorry, I've just hit my computer, so it's gone a bit wonky. Okay, so, oh yeah, behind the scenes. Right, as I was saying, the whole point, the content of this episode today is based on my current behind the scenes. And if you know me personally, or you follow me on Instagram, or you're in my membership, you will know a little bit about my current circumstance relative to moving. And obviously I did a podcast, not obviously, but you might not listen to it, but I did do a podcast, I don't know, a couple of months ago, I forget, on what happened with me manifesting the situation with the, I've said this in my email to members this morning, I'm going to call it an apartment because I just like, it sounds more American, it sounds more fancy. So I might sound like a complete beephead, but I'm doing it anyway. So with manifesting the apartment that I am, fingers crossed, moving into on Friday. So my current situation is thus, if you don't know it. I am due to be moving into my new home on Friday. Last week, I've known for a while that the couple from whom I'm purchasing the apartment are elderly, and the lady was unwell. But last week, my estate agent told me that she was actually really unwell, and it wouldn't be a wise idea to exchange contracts before completion, because she's that unwell that she could unfortunately pass away between those two things. And if that happened, I would still have to sell my current home, but I would not be able to purchase the apartment. I'm getting really used to saying apartment now. By the end of this, I think it's just going to be natural for me. Anyway, so obviously that's not a situation that I want to put myself in, whereby I'm, right, basically homeless. Okay, that's not a vibe that I'm going for at the moment. So it was decided that the only thing to do was exchange and complete simultaneously, and also to try and do it as soon as possible. Now, I'd always said that I really wanted it to be this coming Friday because I don't have my kids that weekend, and it makes life so much easier to just focus on the move without having two children around. Those of you with kids will know what I mean. Let's just say no more there. Okay. So what had happened maybe a week ago was that people buying my house had said, can we delay it a bit longer because they had some issue? And I was like, it's not ideal, but okay. Excuse me, I'm just taking a swig of my drink. Yeah, it wouldn't be my preferred because I just want to get it done now, and it would probably delay it another 2 weeks anyway I'm going on. But it was like, if that's what we need to do, fine, but it definitely is not my preference. And then last week, my estate agent said, look, we need to just get going as soon as possible with this situation, because we just don't know how long this lady is going to be alive. And he told me this last week, and then I think it was maybe like Thursday morning, he was like, look, if there's anything we can do to move sooner, I think it would be prudent. Now, I've never spoken to the vendors of the apartment or their lawyer. It's kind of Chinese whispers, or certainly could be that scenario. But as far as I know, she's really unwell, and it wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility for her to pass away before Friday. So my situation is this. I won't know until the day whether or not it's going to go ahead. Typically, of course, you'd have exchange, say like a week before. So you're like, okay, cool, we've signed contracts, we know it's gonna happen. And this creates a bunch of different challenges. Some of them just practical things, like there are things I want to get rid of that I can't take to the apartment, but I don't want to get rid of them, of course, until I know for sure that I'm going. And ordinarily I would have done that now, but I can't. Anyway, it means that things in terms of what's going to happen are for now up in the air. Naturally, I would prefer to just know, right, I've exchanged contracts, Friday is the move day, it's all systems go, I can focus, I can buy the things I want for the apartment, I can make my plans, and I can't do that at the moment. So the reason I want to talk about this, sorry, that seemed to go on for ages. I was just trying to get the details so that you understand the situation. So we have a bit of background here. The reason, like I said at the start, that I want to talk about this is because I'm in what you could accurately call a stressful situation. It's definitely, from my human perspective, an unwanted situation. Like if I could just press a button and go, the lady's going to be fine and you can exchange contracts, naturally I would do that. Okay, so it's an unwanted, and we could argue it's a stressful situation. And of course, we all have these things in life where we either don't get what we want, and I've had many of those. If you know much about my story, you'll probably already appreciate that, and I speak a bit more to that in the book that I'm writing at the moment, which also is called Living in Faith, so it's related to the topic I'm talking about today. But either you don't get what you want, or you're in this kind of not sure which way it's going to go, sort of limbo state. Okay, of course it is easy to be happy, to be charming, to be delightful. And this is typical of a narcissist, for example, when everything's going your way. And you will see this if you know narcissistic people. They can be as sweet as you like when they're getting what they want. And then the minute that someone doesn't like reply to them in time or says no to them, all of a sudden this wrath comes forth. And so we don't really need so much to rely on the kind of tools that I share when everything's hunky-dory. It really, they come into their own when life is challenging, as is my current situation at the moment. And you may have something going on in your life that's not the same, because it's kind of an unusual situation, frankly, but where you're waiting to hear back on a job offer, or are you going to be made redundant, or you've had IVF or something, and has it worked, or your relationship is up in the air, or you're dating and you're just not sure where it's going with this person, or these, whatever it might be. We naturally all have these times in life where, like I say, we either don't get what we want on the face of it, or we're kind of in this limbo state. So the first thing I want to say, which I've touched upon already, is this idea that, you know, how after the fact, the house that you really wanted to buy, someone else got it, and you're like, oh, that was perfect. But then after the fact, a house that's even more perfect comes about, and you get into it and you're like, oh my God, I wouldn't change this now. Like Oprah used to say, I wouldn't take nothing from my journey now. Like when you get to that point where everything is, you can see that it was always working out for you, and you feel that. So it's actually being able to have that knowing, as I said before, in the midst of the storm, in the midst of the everything seeming to be effed upness. Whoa, this is golden. Like, I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about that. So this is what I'm speaking to here. How do we embody this? Not just like when you say to a friend, oh, what's meant to be will be, or you'll be fine, but actually when it's you in the midst of it, believing that on all levels, or as many levels as you can. One of my friends messaged me earlier and said that something had happened and she was a bit worried, but she said, deep down, you know, we all say that, deep down I knew. And here's the thing, we want to be tuned into, aligned with, tethered to that deep down place that we all have inside of us. And the more you can bring that forth into your life, into your everyday existence and experience, the smoother the ride will go, the less that there will be those times, those points, those moments where you're freaking out when things don't seem to be working out. So when I went and did, you might know I've talked about this a bunch of times, but I did a few ayahuasca journeys, 4 in total actually. There were 2 when I was just the person on the journey, and then 2 when I was a guide and had a small amount of ayahuasca, because that's how you can either do none or you can do a small amount, so you're kind of in the vibe of it with the people doing it. So I forget which time around it was, but on one of those journeys, the thing that really struck me was that people were saying, wow, now I actually really get what those words that I see written on Instagram and hear people talking about me, like, or like maybe what's meant to be will be, or all is well. Like, you can just say these words and see these words or hear these words, but they don't land. They don't actually, you don't live in alignment with them. You don't embody them. And I was like, whoa, like for me, this is a way of living. This is, I walk the walk. And so I was really surprised to see that, or to learn that for this bunch of other people, it wasn't, that hadn't been the case, and the ayahuasca had opened them up to that. But pre that, they were just reading these things, seeing these words. It was just a bunch of letters together. There was no real attachment to it or meaning or depth. And so what I'm talking about here is actually, like, for me in my situation, and for you whenever you're in an unwanted situation, is this is when you get the chance, the opportunity to put your money where your mouth is, to not have it just be words, but to embody it. So the cool thing about when things suck, and I often forget this, and then it comes back to me, so I'm reminding myself and I'm reminding you of it now, or teaching it you maybe for the first time, is, from my perspective, this affords you an awesome opportunity. And the opportunity is, it's something I've talked about before because I'm just obsessed with it. The opportunity is to be facing a situation that looks like everything is just effed up and screwed up and messed up, but not panic, not give in to the fear. When you do this, every time you do this, you burn up that fear energy, and you transmute it from fear into love. And over time, you have less and less of it, and you really start to step into your own true invincible nature. So you start to embody that deep downness that I talked about before, and you feel like it really doesn't matter what happens to you in life. Like, I know, I embody this now because I've practiced this for many years, that no matter what happens, I will be okay. You can take my money or my home, please don't, whatever it might be, but I have the strength within me because it comes from me, it comes from you. You have the same strength within you because we're made of the same star stuff. Deep down, at the deepest of levels, we are all connected. We are all one. We're all divinity, and we just appear to be split into these different factions, these specks of the divine as human beings. But you can get to a place where you really embody this. And what was I saying? I was just wanted to say that this is the golden opportunity of being in a situation where it's like, whoa, like, obviously with me, with this move, there's nothing, I can't control what happens to the lady from whom I'm purchasing the property. That's completely out of my control. And from a human level, that's not a nice feeling. But the awesome thing about that is it gives me the opportunity to practice. Okay, I can't see that 100% this will work out from a human level, but I can choose to have faith anyway. As I was going off to sleep last night, I was speaking to God, the divine, and saying, what would you have me know? And that essence said to me, as I said in air quotes, because it is just a knowing for me. It's not like a literal voice, but I've so got you, boo. That's just the vernacular that works for me for whatever reason. I've so got you. And it's like, yeah, even though, and of course, this isn't for me anyway, obviously a life and death situation. No one's health is in danger in terms of people that I'm close to, but it does have an impact on my life. And moving is something that I really want, and there's a reason for me doing it. So from that level, from that point of view, it would be disappointing if it didn't go ahead. But it's like, okay, anytime things seem screwed, this is an opportunity. I want you to get this flipping of the script, this reframe into your mind is golden. And you can really mine that situation for the gold that's within it, which is stepping you into your true power, living with that deep down knowing. And nothing beats that. Really, nothing beats that. The challenge that we live with, or one of the challenges that we all live with, is that this conditional happiness. I'm happy as long as the sun is shining, or I've got money in my bank, or my jeans fit okay, or my partner is treating me right, or my kids are behaving. There are so many things that we potentially want to try and control to make ourselves happy. And it's such a brittle way of living, because at any point, again, if you've got kids, you'll know this, they can misbehave. You could overeat and the jeans don't fit anymore. You spend the money and it's gone. It rains. Like, for how many of you has any of this stuff happened in the last like hour? And if you're reliant on all those things being just right to not feel crappy, oh, it takes so much effort. Whereas if you know, yeah, you want those things, you want your kids to behave and your jeans to fit and there to be money in the bank and the sunshine, cool, but you don't need it. Again, this is something I talk about in the want not need energy module of Reframe, because it is so golden. And these times when things are up in the air or they seem to be broken, give you that opportunity. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, another thing, one of the things that I have been doing is, so yeah, I want to move. That's what I desired. That's what I sort of asked for and hoped for. But if it doesn't go ahead, one of the things that I'm doing at the moment, just to kind of ease any sense of potential disappointment that, oh, this might not happen, is writing a list of what will I do if on Friday it doesn't go ahead? How can I bounce back rapidly from any disappointment? So what can I do to make the best of my current situation, basically? What can I do to the house? What can I do to have a bit of fun, to just get over all of the extra busyness and tension of the pre-move stuff? So that the reason I'm doing that is just to manage any potential disappointment. There's lots of different ways of doing it, but that just works specifically for me in this situation. You could do the same. Like, say, for example, you really want a baby and that's what you want. Like, I really want to move into the apartment. That's what I really want. But how do we manage potential disappointment? You really want a baby and you're having IVF or you're trying to adopt or whatever it is, and you really want that thing. You can't control when it happens. That's not our business, okay? And the specifics. So what are you going to do if you do the pregnancy test and it doesn't come up positive? Or there are sort of spanners in the works when it comes to the adoption process, or you don't get the job, whatever. What are you going to do? So with the not getting pregnant thing, it might be like, right, we're going on a holiday, because we won't be able to do that, or it won't be so easy to do that if and when we have a baby. So you make the best of what is. This is really powerful energy, because it lines you up again with your higher self, with the wisest part of you, the solution focused part of you. And you're not pretending. You're not like, woohoo, we're not pregnant, or yeah, I didn't get the job. Because you're not trying to pretend with yourself or the universe, because it doesn't work anyway. But you are making the best of it. Like the Eckhart Tolle quote that I share all the time because I'm obsessed with it. What you accept, you go beyond. Anything that helps you to make peace, to lean into acceptance, to lean into that making the best of the situation will line you up with the best of yourself. So powerful. It's always how you respond, how you're showing up. This is something that I speak to time and again and again. Who are you being in this situation? How are you responding? What's your energetic response to this? Because what's in your situation now, you've already manifested. That's already, it's like old news. But how you're responding determines what's coming next. What's the kind of new news, as it were. Okay, so I can't read my writing here. Okay, yeah. So I don't know about you, but I've done quite a few bits of building work on different homes I've had over the years. And one thing that I recognize is normally, like, I don't know, midway, maybe 3/4 of the way through, you're like, oh my God, I've spent all this money, everything looks crap. And you lose sight of your why, you know, the end goal, that there's actually a point to all of this. And I guess you can liken it to, like, maybe when you're giving birth and you know, you're tired and you've forgotten about the fact that you really wanted this baby, whatever it is. And so I recognized a little bit of this in me relative to moving. And I actually sat down again and looked at my figures, and it's like, okay, these are my figures. This is how I'm going to be better off and have freed myself up financially. This is the point, and this is what I'll be able to do. So it's recognizing really that whenever you're going through a what I want to call it, like, I don't know, a situation where you're kind of birthing something new, whether it's like I say, a building project, or you're moving, or you're studying, or you're having a baby, whatever it is that there's naturally this point, like I say, midway, 3/4 of the way through, where you forget what is the point of it. So it's reminding yourself of that, and also remembering the thing that I love to say too, which is fear speaks the loudest when you're on the precipice of great change. So if we use my example again, I'm about to move into this apartment, which is an awesome thing for me. It's going to mean lots of growth in lots of different ways. It frees me up to do things I really want to do with my business and the kids, all sorts of things. What is my mind going to be saying? It's not going, yeah, you go, girl, you've got this. This is awesome. What is fear going to say? It's not going to be saying, wow, this is such amazing up-leveling, Zofie, all your manifesting work's coming to fruition, great. No, it's going to say, oh my God, I think you've made a mistake. Oh yeah, actually the flat's not as nice. Apartment. The apartment's not as nice, and your home's all done now. You're tired, why bother? I shared this on Instagram the other day. This is something I hear again and again from the inner critic, from the mind, from fear, is there's no point. Don't bother. This is like its heavy hitter to try and get you to give up. And you're most susceptible to that giving up when you're tired, when you're near the point, when you're near that precipice, when you're on the precipice of great change. So please know this, as ever, self-awareness, awareness of the situation is golden, and it will help to stop you from stopping, from giving up, which is obviously what fear wants to do. So yeah, one of those things that is said a lot that might just be like words, like letters on a page, is all rejection is divine protection. Okay, so this is something that you might say relative to being dumped, getting made redundant, losing the job, all the examples that I've given. Okay, and again, it's easy, trying to read my writing here. It's easy to just say these things, but then when you actually need those words, they don't land. You don't embody them. And I said this earlier, but I wanted to move on the 24th. Okay, so I put that out there, and we have to think about how things work, right? I put that out there. The universe always says, as soon as you say you want something, you might say, I want to be a certain weight, or I want to earn a certain amount of money, or I want to be in a job where I'm treated a certain way, whatever it is. Okay, and the universe immediately goes, yes. There is no judgment from the universe. The universe doesn't go, are you sure you don't want to be that way, or you sure you don't want like that kind of job? Or no, it's just like, you say what you want and I am on it. You are so loved and adored that there just isn't any judgment. It's not like a parent that's like, oh, I'm not sure you should have that. What about this one? Because I think you should have this one and I prefer this one. It doesn't work like that. Like, the universe is like the most loving parent that adores you in an unconditional manner. So I've said, this is the date that's best for me. I want to get on with it now. So I think, tapping into my deep down, why is that sounding rude there, but you know what I mean, that probably it's just the universe going, oh, she wants to go on that date, how can we make this happen? Because the people are trying to change it, she doesn't want that, let's just put this apparent perceived spanner in the works, but the universe doesn't see it that way, of the lady is poorly and you need to get on with it. But ultimately that's just working in my favor. Okay, so from the perspective of the divine is light and joyful and playful. There's no seriousness there. There's no heaviness that us humans put on things. There's two things I want to say. One is the meaning we attach and attribute to situations is everything, like the story we tell. Okay, so to be simple, the story you can tell at any point is either a positive or negative, a helpful or unhelpful one, right? So an unhelpful story that I could tell about this situation, like I said before, is, oh no, I knew it was too good to be true, la la, yada yada yada, on and on and on it goes. You really do jump into that rabbit hole when you start to think in those terms. Or I can think, great, I asked for this date, I've got this date. Who freaking Ray? I'll be honest with you, I am not 100% believing that 100% of the time, but I'm mostly believing it most of the time, okay? Because I'm still human and I still face challenges, but I'm still trying to apply this stuff to the best of my ability, okay? But I'm mainly and mostly there. And it's interesting. So yeah, those two things. One is when you ask for something, I want to earn more money, and the universe is like, right, she's only earning £23,000 in that job. She wants X amount. Okay, we're going to get her made redundant. Path of least resistance. And what do we do from human perspective? Oh my God, I asked for more money, now I've got less. Something's gone wrong. I'm not beloved. I can't manifest. No, the universe isn't seeing, oh, losing your job, being made redundant is bad. The universe isn't seeing that me not knowing for sure from a human perspective I'm moving till Friday is bad. It's just like, that's the path of least resistance. Like a river flowing downstream, there's rocks and stones in the way, it just flows around them. There's no like, oh my gosh, this rock's like terrible, this shouldn't be happening, this is such a bad rock. No, it's just, that's in the way. How are we going to get down? How are we going to get to the point? So I want you to just be mindful of this. And it is challenging. It's easier to see it, to perceive it in other people's lives. You know, they're with a guy that's not treating them right, and they really want to be with someone who adores them. And the guy who's not treating them right cheats on them. And you're like, yes, it's getting her out of that situation. And she's all sad about it. It's like, no, that is the way. That is the means through which the universe is able to deliver you what you desire. Now, sometimes you can reach a place where there's nothing sucky that happens. But at the same time, most of the time, probably for most of us, there are going to be those things. Sorry, that's my doorbell going. I'm going to ignore it, and hopefully the delivery person who I think is delivering my protein shake will just drop it and then go, because as you might know, I don't know yet how to edit videos. So it was just audio, I could do it, but since I came out of the cupboard, I just got to keep going. So, and I've totally lost my train of thought now, but the point is, the perspective of the divine is this light, joyful, not pushing against anything perspective, not calling anything, deeming anything bad or wrong. And again, the more you can step into this perspective, the better you'll feel and the better things will go for you. Okay, there's one final thing I want to say. I think there was something else, but I really can't believe I'm writing with that, is that if I get to the point on Friday, or well, yeah, Friday, let's just say, and I get a call and it's like, look, it can't go ahead because, air quotes, the worst has happened, I will allow myself a moment to be disappointed, because that's human, it's normal, it's okay. I'll give myself the grace, I'll allow that. But what I won't do is let myself stay there. Okay, so this is the balancing act. It's like, yeah, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to feel the feels. But what I see again and again and again with us, and particularly in the sort of spiritual world, it's like, yeah, you've got to feel the stuff. Sure, you have, but mostly we get stuck here. And then you're not serving yourself, your own divinity, or anybody from that place. So that's my plan. If things do go what we would maybe think of as awry, is that, oh yeah, and I've just remembered what the other thing is I've written. I've talked about this before. Byron Katie, when she said that as soon as something, in the instant something doesn't go her way, she's like, there must be something better. There must be something better, because the alternative is that God, the divine, is a masochist. And she just said, I don't believe that. And I totally agree with her. So I might not be able to do it instantaneously. I might, who knows? Hopefully it won't happen. But I will definitely be like, I'm not staying all down and disappointed, not helpful. I am so about, you know this if you've listened to more than one episode, being helpful. And so yeah, I'll give myself a minute, but I won't stay there. Like Tony Robbins, I think someone asked him, do you ever have down days? Like, are you always happy? People say this a lot to people that are positive, you know, people like me. Oh, it's just not like realistic to be happy all the time. It's like, well, is it realistic to be grumpy all the time? Like, when you understand how it works in terms of mindset and law of attraction, so it doesn't make sense. But anyway, I digress. So what was I going to say? I can't remember if I don't think I mentioned at the start, which I wanted to, and if I did and I'm repeating it, then sorry about that. But tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Monday the 20th, I think it is, tomorrow the 21st at 7, I'm doing a masterclass which is free if you're in my membership, called Limitless. And the most recent meditation I've made for members, I am like so obsessed with it. is called Limitless, and it's all about this both and energy, this mindset of like, just as I love the term, swimming in the pool of infinite possibility. I'm doing the masterclass on that tomorrow on Zoom at 7. You will get a replay if you're in the membership, but it'd be great if you could join live if you are one of my members, or I'll put the sign up link in the show notes. It's $7.99 a month. You get all the meditations, as you probably know, and every other month, there or thereabouts, I do a masterclass that all members get a space at for free, and that you get so much value from this content anyway. I sent out an email to members today with all the details. If you haven't got the details and you want to join, let me know. If you're not a member and you want to become one and join, then head to the link and DM me or email or whatever, and I'll get the Zoom details to you. But I'm so excited to share on this topic. This is something that I'm obsessed with. I've talked about in 2 weeks ago, I think it was, in the podcast, but I forget. This amazing mindset shift of both and thinking, and just how potent it is. So hopefully I might see you there. Any questions on that, just message me. I'll be back next week. As you know, I'm planning on recording next week's podcast shortly, but I haven't decided yet. So I'll either still won't know about the upcoming move, or if I've delayed it till next Monday, I will know, but who knows? Awesome. Thank you so much for either listening or watching. Luckily, the delivery guy, I think I know what it was, like I say, has gone and left me my thing, I think. So we managed to get through this without it being too disturbed. And thanks as ever for listening. Have an awesome rest of your day. I will be back next week. Until then, lots of love from me.